So, like many of us, I spent an inordinate amount of time on the couch in 2020 mainlining all types of television shows, and this was quite a year for television, especially thanks to the rise of streaming services all competing for our eyeballs in the Thunderdome of creative development. Now, the Nerdist editorial team has put together a comprehensive list of the best TV shows of 2020, which you can check out right now on Nerdist.com, but I want to get into it with my panel. What for you was the best new TV show of 2020? Sam, let's start with you on this one.
I loved The Queen's Gambit. I marathoned it in like 2 nights. It was great. It does, of course, suffer a little bit from man writing woman syndrome, but it's just so good that I found it very forgivable. And I just love a complex female character who doesn't necessarily have to be good or likable. Like, she's definitely kind of not likable in a lot of ways, and that's my favorite. And we don't get to see that on TV a lot. I think maybe more now than ever, but it's so great. And I loved all the characters. Such an interesting story. It was something that I feel like I hadn't really seen before. So I loved Queen's Gambit. I also loved I'm Canadian. I have to bring this up. The final season of Schitt's Creek, when we talk about comforting and like delightful, that show is so good and wonderful and kind and warm and sweet and accepting. And it was like the perfect thing for this year. So I really loved that. And I also enjoyed The Great on Hulu. I love historical. I'm a real weirdo for like historical period dramas. And I loved The Favorite, which is created by the same folks who created The Great. And I think it has that sort of irreverent sort of humor while also having really resonant emotional moments. So those are my three faves this year.
Those are 3 solid picks right there. I have a confession. I've only seen a handful of episodes of Schitt's Creek, and I've been at a certain point when I been hearing how beloved it is, I was like, I'm just going to save this. So that's way, a really good idea. I have something that I can binge watch later on, because I know a lot of people are saying like it pushes those same buttons that like Parks and Rec did back 100%. In the day.
Yeah, so 100%. And I would say similarly to Parks and Rec, it takes a while to discover what it is, but as soon as it does, it's like great.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm glad to hear that my intuition there was well placed, and that you are also a big fan of that. And I got to agree with you in The Queen's Gambit. It was also interesting to see the simultaneous rise of chess as a very popular gaming category on Twitch. So it's just this weird confluence.
That was crazy. And even on YouTube, there's tutorials and everything, and Amazon can keep them on the shelves. It literally permeated everything. Like everything their mother's playing chess now. It's really,
so interesting. I didn't know that. I think that's amazing. Cool.
It's really funny to me because I know enough about chess to understand some of the things that are happening, but not so much that I could be like, yes, quite the gambit you just did.
I was in the chess club in elementary school. I was all over that.
I was in chess club too, and I was watching this and was like, wait, there's strategies, like pre-made strategies to chess. Wow. Like it was like, I loved that show. It was incredible.
Just a casual Sicilian defense that I used way back in 4th grade.
I know.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That was the only one I knew, where the janitor beats her in 4 moves. I was like, I know that one, because it was like how I would trick other children, because I knew this like one trick where you could win in 4 moves, but then you could only do it once, and then the other child will catch on,
like,
and not allow you to do that anymore. So
they'll catch on if they're in chess club. Otherwise, you might be able to get away with it a couple times. My favorite though is I saw someone re-edited like a photo of the janitor playing. We were just calling it the chess janitor for a while because it just feels so like auspicious at the beginning. But someone re-edited it to make them play Warhammer 40K, and I was like, yes, that is more my speed. I can understand this one.
Great.
But Ricky, what about you? What was your favorite show of 2020?
I mean, Queen's Gambit's pretty much at the top. I don't know what could beat it this year outside of I've been really enjoying The Mandalorian, but I mean, who hasn't? It's just a fun show. It's literally like watching a video game. It's like, here's your quest for this episode. Enjoy. At the end, you're like, oh, okay, that's done. We're ready for the next quest. It's just like it made for kind of everyone, and just visually, it's amazing. It's just a great show all around. It's fun to watch. Outside of that, Pen 15 on Hulu is one of the funniest shows that's airing right now. Like, it's so funny because when I talk to friends, a lot of them haven't seen it. I'm just like, what are you doing? Watch it right now. It's so good. It's so funny. It's also at some points incredibly hard to watch because it's so awkward. Like, I'm one of those people who can't like sit through awkward moments. So I'm like hiding while watching the show. But it was funny. I was talking to my wife last night when I was like thinking of things that I had watched throughout the year. And I was like, hey, are you ready to feel old yet? Tiger King came out this year. Which like at the beginning of the whole lockdown thing, it was, look, the show is, it is, everyone in that show is unlikable, but the show itself was just so entertaining to watch for various reasons. It really kicked off the whole pandemic, being locked inside with nothing to do. But here's this absolutely insane show with real people who are, it was a great way to kick it off. On the more, I guess, serious side of things, there was a show on Showtime called The Circus, which follows obviously the whole literally political circus leading up to the election. And it's like a behind the scenes of a bunch of journalists who were on the beat of the election behind the scenes. And it was just insane to watch as things played out in real life. They did great episodes on the potential dismantling of the post office, all that kind of stuff. So it was super interesting to watch. And then one that I hadn't watched until this year, and I don't know why this year it stuck out, but it was one of those shows where I was just like, wow, everything sucks. But it's, for some reason I enjoyed watching it, was BoJack Horseman for the first time. I watched through BoJack Horseman and was just like, this is the most depressing show I've ever seen.
Oh my God, yeah. Can we do like old shows that we discovered as well?
Oh, 100%.
I want to do that as well after.
Yeah. But I feel for me this year. Yeah.
That's a solid lineup though, and I do think something like BoJack feels appropriate for this year, where like we have time to reflect on everything. It's like the world's worst headspace meditation, but it is definitely a fantastic piece of media. But Caramel, what about you? What was your favorite show of 2020?
It's so hard to pick one genre because I like watch so many different genres, but I will say the one that was my favorite and was the most impactful had to be Lovecraft Country. And what Misha Green was able to accomplish at adapting Matt Ruff's story was just absolutely incredible. And I love when the Easter eggs are historical, you know what I mean? Not just in the book. And it wasn't an absolutely perfect show, but it was really, really close. And the discussions and the history and I talked to so many people about that show because we were all just at the edge of our seat looking at the next episode, wondering what, she would do next. And turning Lovecraft's like lore and horror and even his real life racism and nonsense, just turning it on his head. I love that. And I also love how the characters weren't all perfect. Like many times in horror, it's like, this is the one we're going to root for and they're going to save the day. And I heard one of the writers of the show say this, and I thought it was brilliant. She said, sometimes the hero is just the person standing next to you in that moment. So they might be, you might hate them. They might be terrible, but they might save your life. And it was so, I don't know whether or not it was also about like this year with everything being turned upside down, but there were so many new people that I met online and through that show. I'm going to have to say it's my favorite because it was just so impactful, like in my life. I can't, of course, forget Mandalorian. I mean, I've got Grogu right there. That's basically, still my favorite. Oh, we can have a play date. That's awesome. Ricky.
I have him up there. He's just sitting here looking at me up there. Yeah, up in the corner.
And so, yeah, it's that show has done more for, I think, Disney Plus than just about anything else. And I think the wonderful thing also about Mandalorian is that I have friends who don't know Star Wars like as much as I do. So I'm sitting there going, oh my God, Boba Fett, oh my God, and I'm seeing all of these different, lines and tales and animation and stuff, cross. And I was having this conversation actually with Hector Navarro. But what's great about it is some of my friends and family members who don't know all that lore are loving it too. And that is a sign of a really written show. And I'm so excited to see what happens next. I want to see what happens with that Darksaber. I'm also loving watching Giancarlo Esposito just show up kind of like Nick Fury at the end of every episode chewing the scenery. And then I also watched a lot of anime. I really did. And I got into some shows that I hadn't seen in a while, and some new ones. There's some great ones on Netflix. Like one I watched called Great Pretender. Both seasons are out, and it's not it's a mystery. It's basically like if Ocean's 11 met I don't know. I don't want to say God of High School, but kind of like that. And it's wonderfully done. It's wonderfully animated, and you don't have to be like an anime head. And it also has an end. I know a lot of people are afraid of jumping into anime because they think people are going to tell them to watch like Naruto or One Piece, which is going to take away.
There's only 900 episodes.
Yeah, this one's short and sweet. You can watch it in a day or a couple days if you want. So yeah, it just ran the gamut. But it was a very good year for streaming.
Yeah, definitely very helpful to have this wealth of options this year. And especially The Mandalorian, that show really made me remember why I love Star Wars in the first place. And not just because of the incredible like world building they've been doing and the character development of the relationships between these characters, but all those little connections to the larger universe. And it just reminded me, I'm like, oh yeah, the galaxy far, far away kicks ass. And that show has just been a constant like flood of serotonin every Friday at midnight when I like boot up Disney Plus to watch it. Now I joked at the beginning of their investor day before they made all their announcements. I'm like, oh, not bad. Like 86 million subscribers, not bad for an app I only use to watch The Mandalorian once a year. But now obviously there's going to be a lot more stuff coming.
Right. Disney heard you and said, hold my beer.
Yes. Hold my churro in 17 different flavors that you can then buy in 2021. Yeah, I just can't believe the sheer volume of stuff coming out from them. And in terms of anime, yeah, I definitely want to check out The Great Pretender. Another one that I've been loving this year in the anime realm is Jujutsu Kaisen.
I was going to say the other one. I love Jujutsu Kaisen. Oh my God.
It's so good. The animation is so slick in that same way that like Demon Slayer was, but with like less harsh outlines. The humor lands almost every time, which is not something I can say for every anime series, as much as I love that as a genre and medium. And it's just this awesome, like you have that same sort of like tournament arc sense to a certain degree, that sense of like secret school, like it's about these like demon hunters and sorcerers, and it is just awesome. And the creature design is super creepy. Also the music spot on. I never skip the opening or ending, which I
never miss the ending. I love the ending, and they're all dancing and everything. And also here's the thing, it does have an element of horror to it, but it's almost like a horror comedy because the main character, like he ate a finger. Yes. Like that happened. Like he ate a demon finger and was like, oh, so I'm kind of possessed now.
Yeah, he's remarkably calm about all the like body horror happening around him, which is a nice reminder that about 2020, even when things, even the world outside is on fire, you can maintain that sense of poise and inner calm and good humor about everything that's going on. Well, hopefully you didn't also eat a demon finger this year, but it's definitely been a source of comfort this year. And speaking of comfort food, I think the show that everyone had told me about that I was like, no way, because the name sounds like a prank. And it's on a platform that I had no intention of signing up for, but I finally did it. And I have to say, Ted Lasso is awesome. Ted Lasso is just like warm hug of a show. It's about this. So we have Jason Sudeikis as the eponymous Ted Lasso, who's this American, like kind of like country boy football coach who gets hired to coach a Premier League British football team, or soccer if you are American. And he knows nothing about the game. It's almost this like the Producers-esque sports comedy where like they bring him in, set him up to fail, but it's so relentlessly optimistic in a way that is not cloying or annoying. My biggest complaint about the show was I was like, man, I love this show. The characters are great. It's wonderful storytelling. It's really funny. I just can't deal with this Mumford and Sons ass music. And then someone was like, oh, that's because Mumford and Sons literally did the music for the show. And I was like, Oh, okay. Well, good for them. Okay, I'm not mad anymore. Like at least I was accurate. But like it's 8 episodes long. Each episode's like 30 minutes. You can blast through it in a weekend, and I highly recommend it. You can blast through it with enough time. You'll have multiple days left over on your 1 week free trial of Apple TV Plus if you were trying to game the system. But yeah, that's definitely high up there on my best of 2020.
I love shows that have an ending, and that was talking about like discovering old shows this year and stuff. And I don't know how I slept on this for so long, but I feel that it is like my responsibility now to like spread the word of this to as many people as humanly possible, because it quickly became probably like one of my top 2 shows of all time is Halt and Catch Fire. I don't know if any of you guys have watched this.
I not this year, but like last year, I was like, people have been talking about this show for a while. I should probably give it a shot. And it is great. It's fantastic.
Absolutely mind-blowing. You can tell that they sold the show to AMC in the midst of this like Mad Men kind of Breaking Bad boom, where the first few episodes, Lee Pace is this kind of like Don Draper, like kind of jerk character. But like that was clearly just their way to get on the air, because they abandoned that pretense entirely. And then the rest of the 4 seasons of the show are basically about 2 women in the 80s and early 90s, like creating one of the first video game companies. And then these 2 men that are kind of like with them and are their partners and supporters in lots of ways. And it's this amazing character drama. It's 40 episodes, fully complete. Every character grows and changes so much over the course of the show. You care about them so much. It has that amazing nostalgia factor of like 80s, 90s computer gaming, early internet, which is like big for me. And I would say, I think it has probably one of the best finales of a television show of all time. And the creator, Chris Cantwell, is now adapting Brian K. Vaughan's Paper Girls for television. So like that makes me even more excited about that show based on one of my favorite comics. But it's just like, if you have not, I have convinced so many of my friends to watch this show this year, and all of them without fail text me after they finish watching it, A, like completely bereft, sobbing, and C, just like, I can never watch a show again because this is like the best thing that's ever happened to me. I don't know. It's just, I feel like I must spread the word about this. It's so good. Everyone should watch it if you have not had the chance to watch it. It's like,
I'm putting that right at the top of my to watch list now, because it's been one of those things where I'm like, I know people like this, but what is this? Ronan the Accuser and Hackers? We'll check later. But
very bisexual show. Everyone is wonderful to look at. It's great.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely going to give that a shot. But Caramel, what about you? What was your binge watch of the year? What was your like older show?
Honestly, it's anime. It was Code Geass. It's one of those things. Do you guys remember how like, okay, so kids leave the room, but when all the anime used to come on, like Adult Swim and stuff like that, or MTV or whatever, it would all be out of order.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Code Geass was just one of those. So I've probably seen almost every episode, but not in the right order. It's like when Firefly aired, like wrong. So I promised myself I would like watch it in order. And that has been, I'm so glad I did. And then what's creepy is like, wait, all of the things that are happening with like the leadership that is lying to the people and not telling the truth. And I was like, okay, this is really kind of weird. Now I got to go play Spiritfarer because I'm upset. But it's a really good, if there is one anime, and it's not as long as One Piece, I promise. But that is definitely one. Lelouch is somebody that you definitely need to check out.
Yeah, that show, if you like political intrigue, if you like kind of supernatural abilities, if you like giant mech battles, it has all of that and more. It is self-contained. I think only like 2 or 3 seasons, and they've been putting out different like movies and prequels and stuff. But if you just watch those 2 or 3 seasons, you will get a complete story in there that will feel oddly appropriate for this year and the past 4 years. But yeah, definitely a great one to revisit. Ricky, what about you? What was your comfort watch this year?
Literally the most basic answer I could give, and that is I rewatched The Office from start to finish.
Oh wow!
Because it's just, I've seen it so many times, and it's just like I love rewatching the storylines. I love like reliving those moments. I love watching it. The show actually has things are funny for different reasons in different years. Like it was funnier for one reason then, and like you look back and you're like, you know, there's things that you may have missed or whatever, but it was just fun to rewatch. And, you know, it's a long series, so there was plenty to watch there. I would just watch it like every night, like while eating dinner. The other comfort food stuff is like kind of just reality TV. Like anytime I'm in like a bad mood or feeling like anxiety or anything like that, I put on American Pickers, because there's nothing more satisfying than just watching people dig through trash and find like a bicycle that's worth 10 grand or something like that. I don't know. It's like, it's just cool. Like, hey man, you got these old gas pumps. I'm going to buy these from you, and I'm not going to like, it's not like Pawn Stars where like, yeah, I'll give you $5. They're like nice about it. I don't know. And then the other like reality show comfort food was Hometown, which is it's like one of those renovation shows, but I feel like it's less nefarious than the rest because the people involved are just so wholesome, and they're trying to like revitalize their small town in the South, and they're redoing all of the old homes there. And the couple is just so sweet and wholesome and nice. And I feel like they go into more of like how they are doing things rather than just smashing stuff. And it was just a wholesome show that I just like. It's just good energy, I guess. It just felt good to watch. So
what's really
those were
I love that.
And wholesome stuff. I completely forgot about it until you said wholesome and really good feeling. I had like a 3-week run where I watched nothing but the Great British Bake Off.
Oh yeah, baby.
I had no idea. These are the nicest. This is the nicest competition I've ever seen in my life. And I never knew that there were so many different ways to use fondant. But it is just, it was just such, and they are just so sweet, and you're rooting for everybody, and they're helping each other, and it's all about cake, but you don't care because, again, after a hard day of Twitter, great.
Wholesome reality like cannot be overstated in its importance this year. My wholesome reality watch, potentially not what you would expect someone to say as a wholesome show, but I discovered Love Island this year. British Love Island. I watched the current season and I found it so sweet and wholesome because it's just all these like incredibly dumb people from the UK. No thank, you know, so can't have malice. Because no thank. So they're just like, they all just like kind of trying to get along. Some of them want to make out. Some of them find love. Like it just, some of them don't understand geography. Just I found the whole experience to be very wholesome and wonderful. So I highly recommend.
I actually have to thank Dan Casey because I forgot about that. I watched it this year. It's not from this year, but I watched it this year as a recommendation from Dan Casey, and that is Instant Hotel, which is a show it's on Netflix. It's an Australian show where these people all have Airbnbs that they run, and they're all unique in special ways, but it's a group of people and they have to stay in each other's Airbnb and then judge all of the aspects of their Airbnb rentals in front of everyone's faces. And then like the winner gets in the first season of that, there is this lovely older couple that runs like a diner, 50s diner style Airbnb. And they were just the sweetest thing. Everyone was like, most of the people in the show were just like nice, really nice people, but then they have like sort of villains in it too. It was such a fun watch. I can't recommend it enough.
I love that you love home shows. That's great.
Yeah.
Me too.
That one it's also just delightful. Like just seeing everyone is so proud of they have to call them instant hotels because they legally can't call them Airbnbs for the show. And the grand prize is they get to go stay in a Airbnb, an instant hotel in Palm Springs, rumored to be owned by one of Hollywood's top celebrities. And I looked into it and pretty sure it's Leonardo DiCaprio. But that show, phenomenal. Highly recommend it. There's only 2 seasons. Netflix, give me a 3rd season, please. I beg of you.
Not now. But later.
Not now. Hopefully,
right.
Next
Don't
year,
give anybody any ideas, please, for the love of God.
No, look, if they're all quarantining together.
It's the Instant Hotel Battle Royale in the life and times of a pandemic. Who will survive?
I'm not sure.
It's literally all bunkers
right now. Yeah,
Oh, no.
It's all bunkers.